DynamicsCon attendees. I hope you're excited to be here, hopefully as excited as I am. I'm actually not there right now. Right this second, I'm in the past, but future me is probably really excited to be sitting there watching this with you. I wanted to thank you for voting for my session this year. I get the honor of being one of DynamicsCon's newbie speakers, and that's because y'all voted for me, and I just wanted to say thank you for giving me this experience. So today, I'm going to share with you what I'm calling Management Reporter's Best Kept Secrets. So please hang around after the video. There's going to be live Q&A where I get to respond to any questions or comments that you left in the chat. So be sure and check the chat out and leave me lots of things for us to talk about after the session. Okay, so my not-so-secret identity is Sarah Brewster, enthusiastic nerd extraordinaire. In 2012, I graduated with my bachelor's, started working as a staff accountant using GP and FRX. I got to lead the migration from FRX to Management Reporter. Now I work for AccountingWare as a project lead for Active Reporter, which is an ISV solution for reporting in GP. Outside of work, my favorite things are cats, video games, and roller skating. So having been an FRX and MR user and now getting to work with GP users that are on Management Reporter and other solutions, I've gotten to learn quite a lot about Management Reporter. I've also gotten the chance to hear from a lot of users on their frustrations with Management Reporter, which is the inspiration for this session. So there's a story that I hear time and time again. Might even be your story. You start working somewhere new that uses GP and Management Reporter. Maybe it's the first time you've even seen these softwares. Lucky you, you get to inherit somebody else's setup and process, somebody else who may not even be there to help you out. So between your new responsibilities and pressure to produce the monthly reports, you never really have enough time to dig deep and learn about Management Reporter other than what you need to know to get the reports out the door. So every so often something goes wrong with reporting and you always find a way to fix it, but it might not be the most efficient way and you might be just putting a Band-Aid on something. You're not really sure. As time goes by and your new workplace changes and grows, you might even want to create new reports to better reflect the financial position of your company as things have changed. Unfortunately for you, Management Reporter can be a little bit unintuitive. So today, my goal is to help equip you with a few troubleshooting steps, as well as instructions on setting up a couple of the most frequently requested features. So let's demystify Management Reporter. Today, we're going to look at how to see all of your building blocks, that's your rows, columns, trees, and reports all at once, as well as how they're related to each other, the last modified date, and their last generated date. We'll also look at how to find what accounts are missing from your reports, as well as what accounts may be duplicated on your reports. So as far as the frequently requested features, I've heard a few people say things like, I can't do XYZ in Management Reporter. So I picked a few of these things that I've heard that you can't do, and I'm going to show you how to do them. So first is how to consolidate multiple separate companies on one report without sacrificing your specific reporting tree complexity for each company. And for the second item, we're going to look at how to create columns that show a KPI based off of one amount. So this is something like calculating each one of your separate revenue lines, percentage of total revenue, or calculating what an expense line's percentage of its matching revenue stream is. So let's get to it. I am going to be in the chat, so please feel free to ask any questions or leave any comments or give a newbie speaker some feedback. So reporting cycles come with lots of questions. Questions like, when did this row definition change? Are we using this column that I'm spending so much time to fix? Since we switched to a new reporting tree last month, did we make sure all the reports are using it? And there are so many rows, trees, reports. Can I just see everything at once? And yes, my friend, you can. The answer is what I'm calling the building block index. So you can get to this from in Report Designer. Just click File and Open. That's it. That is the magic way to get to this fantastic little window that has information on all of your different building blocks. Again, if this window has an actual name, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to keep calling it the building block index. So let's get a closer look at this. On this first tab here, you're going to get a list of all the different report definitions that are in the building block group that you currently have open. So you'll get, of course, the name, the description, the company that this report goes with, and then you'll also get to see the row definition and column definition that's being used on this report. And of course, if it's being used, a reporting tree definition. You'll also see the modified date and the modified user and generated date and generating user. So this gives you a wealth of information about all your reports, so you can see it all at once, and it really helps you with cleaning up and sort of doing like I said, a spring cleaning on your definitions. The second tab is going to give you your row definitions. Look at that first column there that says associated with those check marks underneath it. That lets you know whether a row definition or a column definition or a reporting tree definition is being used by a report definition. So that's what associated means. Is it associated with a report? The rows are also going to give you the date that they were modified and who modified them. We also get the columns. And last but not least, the reporting trees. So the same information on rows, columns, and reporting trees, but again, it lets you see all of it there in one place. So it's a lot easier to digest for some folks, and it answers a lot of questions. It's practically invaluable when it comes to trying to figure out what you're actually using or who's using what, or, you know, maybe Susie's out of the office this month, so you need to run the reports that she uses. Here's where you can see which ones she generated last month. Okay, so another common problem, your income statement bottom line doesn't match your balance sheet, so that causes more questions. I added new GL accounts, so is this row definition missing any of those accounts? How can I find out which ones? And what about the reporting trees? Did we add a new department, division, etc. that needs to be on the tree? And again, can I please just see everything at once? And yes, you can. With the missing account analysis. The missing account analysis is available in Report Designer. Just click on Tools, then choose Missing Account Analysis. So when you click the item in the Tools menu, the analysis is going to run and display this results window. The analysis looks at all the rows and trees, determines what dimensions are being used in those rows and trees, such as segments from your GL accounts, account categories, or dimension sets. And then it's going to search between the highest and lowest value on the row or the tree for any values that are missing in between. So this seems fairly simple, but there is sort of a gotcha here that if your row or your tree is missing something, you know, at the very top or the very bottom of your dimension, whether that's GL accounts, account categories, or dimension sets, the analysis will not know that they're missing. It's only going to look, again, between the top and the bottom of what's already there. So this top section here is going to show you a list of all the rows and trees that the analysis shows has missing accounts. And the bottom section is going to show what's missing. Okay, so here I have a row definition selected. And in the results, under that first column that says dimension, you can see that this row definition is using the account segment of my chart. And under value, you can see that account segment 4186 is missing from this row definition. And then it helpfully also gives me the report name for both of the reports that are using this row definition. So this lets you get a sense of, how far the missing account has affected your reports if you've already printed them, for example, for the month. You've also got there that date modified and date generated. That is for the report and not the row definition. So that's the last time that report was generated. So this also, of course, works with reporting trees, which is what I have selected here. So we can see in my Fabricam Departments reporting tree, I'm missing Division 300. Mystery solved. Okay. Or is the mystery solved? Maybe you aren't missing an account. Maybe the income statement is actually just duplicating an account, or both. In any case, you can find out what accounts you're duplicating with the Report Duplicate Accounts option. So this is also available in Report Designer. You can toggle this option here. You're going to look under a report definition, go to the Output and Distributions tab, look for the Report Options section, and you're going to check Report Duplicate Accounts. So this setting actually doesn't take effect until after you've generated the report. So when you are in Report Viewer, you can click on View and choose Duplicate Accounts. And it gives you this great report showing all the accounts that you have duplicated in the report that you've generated. So here in the results, you can see that first line there, we have 4,600 duplicated twice within this report. And then in the third column, it actually gives you the row code where you have it duplicated. So it's saying that we have it in both row 80 and row 140. So it does make it fairly simple for me to just go find the row definition that this report is using, and then I can decide, does this account belong on row code 80 or row code 140? So those are the troubleshooting steps. Hopefully these are steps that you can take easily and repeatably to fix issues that you find with your inherited management reporter setup. So now we're going to look at how to consolidate separate companies on one report. So what I'm going to do in this section is we're going to go briefly through some screenshots just to get something kind of on paper, and then we're going to look at it live in the company so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so for consolidating separate companies, the first thing you're going to want to do, of course, is decide what row definition you want to use with this consolidated report. So once you've picked your row definition, we can here go to Edit, choose Row Links. What that's going to do is allow you to create a second Link to Financial Dimensions column. So in this case, I am adding the company UNV for university to my company TWO, which is Fabricam. So what I've done is I've added here, you click New, and I've added a new link and description. Now that I have those pieces in place, now I can go to a reporting tree. And all you need truly to get this done from the most simplest level is 2 rows, other than the default summary row that's already going to be there. You're just going to add in the second row the first company that you have. It's going to be the name that Management Reporter knows it as, in this case, TWO and UNV. There is a drop down, so you can choose. And then you can describe the name of the unit or the company, so Fabricam and University. So the piece that's going to pull this together is what's here in row E and row F. So in row E, what I've done is I've chosen the row definition that I earlier added that row link to. So here is the row link. So this is the first link to financial dimensions column that was there by default. It was already named FD1. And here on my university line, I have the FD2 dimensions link. So that's the piece that's going to allow this to pull together on the report. So the thing that I wanted to mention here is that you're not going to be limited to that really simple setup. Like I said, that simple setup is all that's really needed to get this accomplished. But you can also, keep your complex reporting tree here that you have for these companies when you're doing them separately. And you don't have to modify them at all. Just put them underneath a heading of a total for that company. And of course, make sure that you have that link to financial dimensions defined. So here what we're looking at is just a standard Fabricam reporting tree definition. And we're going to scroll through it because it does get a little long. And here you can see where we are actually adding the university company. So this is the same as that third line that I added on the simple reporting tree last slide, where I switch from FD1 to FD2. And then, of course, that's what is used for the rest of the university piece is that FD2, which we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of. So this way, my two organizations, Fabricam and University, which is some sort of fictional college, they can both report on the departments and sections that they need to, but also report at the same time. So we're kind of doubling our labor here. Okay, so now that you have the reporting tree and the row definition set up, now you get to combine them on the report definition so you can actually see the results. So here on this report definition, we have just a normal column for doing a current versus year-to-date comparison. I've chosen a tree type of reporting tree, of course. And for the tree, I've chosen the consolidated tree that we just looked at a minute ago. Once you choose your tree, you need to come back up here and check the button to use the row definition from the reporting tree. So remember when we set that on the tree, this way it kind of guarantees that it's going to work together, that row definition is going to have the right row links to show both companies. So from here, we can go back to our row definition and add our link to financial dimensions for the second company. So one interesting thing that I want to note here, you can see that my link to financial dimensions columns here, both TWO and university, so Fabricam and university, they're actually exactly the same. This is only working because I'm using account categories here. Account categories are sort of a special sort of dimension set. Basically, it's a group of accounts, and you've assigned this from inside of GP. So it's something that GP doesn't allow you to create an account without. So you might as well leverage it. It's a really great choice, especially for your reporting and management reporter, because it can be updated easily within GP. And as long as you keep your categories straight in GP, you know they're going to come out straight on management reporter. The other great thing is they are universal, so all of your GP companies are going to have them. That's why I'm able to use the same exact columns for both of these companies, because they have the same categories. I can literally copy this column and paste it into this column, and I'm ready to go. If you don't use categories, which is totally fine, you can, of course, do the normal way of assigning row definitions, where you use the different segments of your chart or perhaps dimension sets. So what I do want to touch on is if you're two different companies or however many different companies have a different chart structure. So different segments that make up their GL account. If they're different, you are going to have to swap between the different companies to get to that second set of segments. So for instance, if I'm in TWO right now and I go to edit a financial dimension, it's only going to give me the segments for TWO, which is fine. But if I go to edit the university column, I probably need to see the university segments. So in order to do that, you actually need to come back and swap companies. In case you don't know how to do that, you can just double click on it right here, and that pulls this window up. Select the company and click Set as Default. That's it. So once you've done that, then you'll be able to select the correct segments from the row definition. So now that we've walked through it in screenshots, let me just kind of show you what this looks like in Management Reporter. So here's my Management Reporter screen. First thing, let's look at the row definition. So here's my row definition. Again, very, very simple. I just wanted to show you here, if we go to edit this column, we're seeing the dimensions that go along with Fabricam. And here, even if I go to the university, I'm still seeing Fabricam segments. So I can swap, but I can't swap when I have a building block open. So let me close that. Okay. And now I can come back here and see all of the university segments. So the power with this is you don't have to make too many changes to the way that you currently have your row definitions in the separate companies. They are going to have a shared line, so a shared description. Well, you can choose for them to have a shared description. You can also choose for them not to. For instance, if I wanted to, let's say Fabricam doesn't have any administration expenses, I can leave that blank and nothing will show there for that company, but it will show for the university. So you're able to flip-flop between the companies if you need to, but you can also, it doesn't matter if your chart is completely different. You can still consolidate them on the same lines by using these two different columns. Okay. So that's the row. Let's look at the tree. So here's this simple one. And I just wanted to kind of show how it provides the drop down for you to choose the companies. This is my play machine, so there's all kinds of weird things. You never know what you're going to find. But you can choose your company from right here. You don't have to remember what Management Reporter knows its name as. You can type whatever you want. And here in the row definitions, you do get the drop down that shows all your definitions that are available, but you can pick the one that you've set up with the extra row links. And here again, you do get the drop down where you can choose from the two row links you created. And the more complex one, just for the sake of completeness, again, the only thing that's special about this that's different from a normal reporting tree is that we have this total Fabricam that we have to specifically define rather than just having the any at the top that means everything. Everything now means two different companies. So we do have to specify a specific reporting unit for Fabricam and a specific one for university. Okay. So now that we have that, let's pull it together with our income statement. So I'm going to set this to April 2017, the Fabricam date. And of course, I have my columns set. You can see, let's say this was set to like this. We didn't have a tree set up previously. If you try to check this, you can, and it'll gray that out. So You can choose this here and then our consolidated or just the simple consolidated. I'm actually going to do not that one, this one. Okay. And generate. So you get the same option where you can say, I only want to see Fabricam on this run, or maybe I only want to see the university. In this case, we are going to do all of them. And we'll let that run for just a second. Okay. There we go. So let's check out what we got. And here we go. This is our consolidated statement. It might look more consolidated if I change the header on this statement. Probably should do that. But let's just look right now at the results. So if I drill down into my other, oh, I guess the university is the only one that has other expenses. Let's check something else. How about salaries? There we go. So we can drill down on this and it lets you see the separate salary amounts. So total by university and total by Fabricam. And we can continue to drill down, say into university, and it's going to follow the tree, just like you would expect. Now we can see the salary breakdown of all the university salaries and university salary by college, and so on. Same thing with Fabricam. If we drill down, here we can see the breakdown between the different Fabricam departments. So I'm going to pop back into the slides. Okay, so now the second thing that we were going to learn today is how to calculate percentages. I could not find a good, simple way to describe this, so you're just going to have to see it with me. So what we are after, let me show you this here first so you get a picture of the finished product, because it makes more sense that way. So this is what we're after right here, is this percentage column. What we're calculating is the service sales percentage of our total gross profit. So we can see, which one of our revenue streams is producing the most. So in order to do a calculation like that, we're going to use what's called a CBR, or change base row. So here in our row definition, it all begins in the rows. It's the same row definition I was using a moment ago with the separate companies, but we just have Fabricam this time. So the key here is our column C, format code row, or column. This CBR stands for change base row, and it's sort of an action. You're telling the row definition that when it gets to this CBR, to change the base row to 550. So in this case, 550, we're going to look at 550. That is our gross profit. So what we're saying is that this gross profit line is our base row. It's kind of like I can't remember if it's numerator or denominator, but if it was a fraction, that's how I always remember it, because the fraction has a top and a base. So when I change the base row, what I've changed the base row to is going to be the base of my fraction. So if that helps, you're welcome. If it doesn't, you got to hear it anyway. So here I'm changing the base row to 550, the gross profit. And that's all you really need to do. The rest of the work is going to be done in the column definition. So here in the rows, I did keep going. Down here is another change base row, and I'm telling it to change the base row to 970, which we can't see on the screen. So let's go one forward. Here we go. So this is the same place we were. I changed the base row to 970 here. 970 is my total operating expenses. So what this is saying is that here, my base row is going to be total operating expenses. So when I do a calculation here with these expense line items, it's going to be using the total operating expenses as the base. So in the column definition, all you need to do is create a calculating column. And for the formula, we just use base row like it's a variable. So when we change the base row previously, this is where it matters. You can use it with math here, like you normally can in Management Reporter. So in this case, B divided by base row is just whatever my actual results are in column B, divided by what my actual results were for the base row. Same thing here in the year-to-date column, D divided by base row. So what this ends up looking like is this, like we just looked at live on Management Reporter a second ago. What we've got here is the 8,000 or so of my services sales divided by the 118,000 of my gross profit. So I can see here that obviously my finished goods are where most of my gross profit is coming from. Looks like retail parts is not doing so great, but what this does is let you get, of course, a better picture of your financial position and help you make better decisions about maybe your different revenue streams in this case. For my operating expenses here, each one of these percentages is the percent that expense line is of the total operating expenses. So in this case, my salary is making up 90% of my operating expenses. That's kind of over the top, but you got to remember this is Fabricam data, so it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. This is a company that apparently pays a lot of salaries to make lots of finished goods. Sounds about right. Okay, so let's jump into Management Reporter again. And I'm going to just real quickly show you that setup. Okay. So here in Management Reporter, let's check out my rows. So here's my row definitions yet again. And here you can see I'm changing the base row. At the very beginning, I'm changing the base row to 550. So the CBR in the format code column, it just needs to go above where it's going to be used. So here I want to use the base row on these three lines. So I've changed CBR right above them. Same thing here. I want to use the new base row and these, so I change it right above. It's not going to print on the report the same way that a blank row will. You just need to insert the row and add that there. It won't change the formatting. Something else that I did, though, that I want to mention, when we look back at this final result, I should have got rid of those lines there too, probably in that formatting. But what I did do was I got rid of the percentage in a few of these lines where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to include it. So for my total revenues and my cost of goods sold, I really didn't need a percentage that I was calculating there. So what I did in the row definition was use column H, which is column restriction. So again, in my row, on each of these rows that I did not need to display a percentage, I restricted the column to only show column B and column D. So in my results, what that meant is only show results in column B and column D. So it suppressed the columns I did not mention, or in other words, it was restricted to the specific columns that I mentioned. So that's something that I actually learned while putting this together. That was fun. So let's check out the column definition real quick. So nothing groundbreaking here, just using the formula that we talked about a second ago. I also did, of course, change the format to a percentage so we could display it that way. Okay, so now you know how to do that. Okay, so in conclusion, going all the way back to the beginning, When you need information on a report, row, column, or tree, you can go to File, Open to see that building block index. When you want to know if a row or tree is missing an account, you have that missing account analysis under Tools. When you want to find duplicate accounts that are in a row, you can use the Output and Distribution tab on your report definition, and then look for that Report Options group down at the bottom and check the box next to Report Duplicate Accounts. Once you generate the report, in the report viewer, it won't work on the web viewer, sorry, but in the report viewer, you can click View and click Duplicated Accounts to get that exceptions report generated. And this is a wordy slide, but it has in simple the instructions for what we just went over. So consolidating separate companies, the row definition, the reporting tree, the report definition, it all comes together. And then calculating the percentage of total revenue or expenses. Use that CBR format code and set the related row to the row code that you want to use as your base. And then add the calculated column using the base row in your column definition. And that's it. That's all I've got for you. I will see you in the future, or the me that is in the future will see you in a few minutes or seconds. In any case, please leave me any last minute questions or comments in the chat. I am probably really excited to be reading them right this minute now in the future. Thank you so much to the DynamicsCon community, the DynamicsCon promoters, everybody involved with putting this on. This event is a blast to attend, and it's been really fun to put my slides together. I hope you can tell I enjoyed that. Thank you so much for voting for the session and giving me the chance to participate. That's it.
Hello and good morning. Wherever you are, good afternoon. Thanks for joining Sarah's session today. So let's jump right into those questions. It looked like Susan had a question while you were presenting, so I'll go ahead and read that one. When exporting my balance sheet, I get a financial summary tab and an account level. The account level shows the sections such as a cash and lists the total for each company in my tree. CFO would like to see that to a GL account level. So something like operating bank lists for each company, then petty bank for each company. Is that possible, or am I looking at providing a different report?
So you could definitely do a report like that with a specific row definition that was by account level. I'm not sure, because what you're talking about is exporting it to Excel and wanting to get a sheet that's showing the GL accounts for each company. I don't know. I'm interested to look into that and see if there's a way that you can sort of drill down to get to that instead of just put a row definition together by account. I'm going to have to look. That seems kind of fun to look at. But I think you can do it. Normally there's a way to do it. You just have to figure out how. But Susan, I'm going to look at that and then I'll email you later and see if I come up with a better answer for you. Any other questions?
Not a question, but Tom said, gave me ideas on producing a ratio statement. So there you go. Good job.
Well, what I was kind of trying to do with this was, some things that some of us who may have been working with management reporter for a while may consider to be, sort of basic things. But again, when you inherit management reporter and you don't know how to use it and somebody else has put it together for you, you kind of miss those baby steps that you need to sort of build on to have those ideas of what's possible and what you might want to do. So like I said a minute ago, the best way that I've always found to do things is decide what you want and then figure out how to put it together, because there's a way, and it may not be efficient, but that is part of deciding what you want to do, is figuring out how to do it. If it's not efficient, you can do something else. But anyway, Let's see.
Looks like we have another question from Lisa. I'll go ahead and read that one. Regarding the account level question, it sounds like the tree needs to be flattened if you keep drilling into the totals for the units. You should find you eventually get to the actual accounts. It looks like that was probably an answer. Sorry. But
Right.
thank you,
No,
Lisa.
yeah, you can get to the actual accounts. What I'm interested in is the piece where it's maybe I should share my screen, but the piece where you want to see the accounts from all companies together, because you do when you drill into it, when you've got a tree, you drill into it and the first thing it does is split it by unit. So are you saying, what I'm wondering is if there's a way to build a reporting tree where there's a unit that would include both? I don't know. I'm gonna have to play with that. As far as I know, it drills down immediately into splitting it to this company and this company. So that's the piece that's really interesting.
Yep. Another question. How do you hide columns with no activity?
Oh, this is a fun one. I meant to include this in the presentation actually, but I didn't have time. Let me share my screen really quick. I think I can do that. Yes. There we go. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen. So this is something that I did want to show because it's, again, it's a really easy thing that can be done, but folks just, you may not think about it, but this is just a pretty normal column definition. And what I've got, of course, is a column for each period. And then the only way that I know of to control what prints is, of course, print control. And you've got a lot of really cool options here that you can use to modify your columns. But what I like down here is to do this conditional print. So you can, if it's a 0, you can suppress your columns with zeros or blanks. I like to use, if this is a 12-month column definition, I want to make sure and only print if the period is less than or equal to my base period. So if I run it for April, it's only going to show me April and less than April. So that's really convenient. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I might as well leave that on there. It's not going to make any difference. So if I run this, let's see, let's switch to income statement and then this guy. Okay. Yeah, you can see I was running a balance sheet trying to play with the reporting tree question. But Annette did note in the chat the full account code would need to be on the row definition. And that's kind of what I was thinking was the answer. I wasn't sure if there was a better way, but thanks for confirming that. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's see where we are. All right, we're done. Let's see. So one of the things that I really didn't get into too, this is one of the things that I think is really important to learn as well, is your report library. There is a lot that you can do here, a lot that it's not immediately obvious that you can do. So you've got a lot of flexibility in things like security and who can see what. If you need to break out, only certain people can see certain units. There's a lot of power in the library. But anyway, here is my, I did a really great job naming that total column. Anyway, I ran it for April and it's only showing me January, February, March, and April. And then my total column for the year, which still has April on it because I totally didn't change that column header. But that's what's really neat about this is now I can have this statement that's only showing the months I'm interested in, the ones that have actually occurred. And you don't have to clutter up the rest of the page with empty columns and things like that. So, okay. Any other questions that I can answer? If you have questions, type them in. If not, I'm going to just take this opportunity to say thank you to everybody. This was a blast to put together. I've never done anything like this before. Newbie speaker, yay. And it was a lot of fun, especially because of the community and Molly and everybody involved in putting on DynamicsCon. This is a great event. Obviously, how do I point to it? There it is. Got it. I love DynamicsCon. So thank you guys all for being here and for supporting this community.
Yep, I think that's it. I don't see any more questions. So I know they've said this, that you can watch the session. They're going to put it on their YouTube channel, DynamicsCon, and then also download the PDF next week on their website. So we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yay. Thank you.